Love it, man!
Alright, gut punching people. After recently watching JCW Legends and Icons and calling it one of the worst pay-per-views of all time, as bad as Heroes of Wrestling, Violent J dumped in his nappy of anger at my disdain for his promotion. He demanded that I do a full review of Slam TV or he'd hit me with his gigantic meatball head. I didn't want any part of that, so here goes. And let me know in the comments section if this is something you want me to finish. It only ran for 2 seasons. Juggalo Championship Wrestling, ran by the Insane Clown Posse, managed to run as a major indie fed and attract big names on their shows. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. But this was due to the friendships that the ICP formed from their time in the major companies. They'd been running shows for the better part of a decade and had a hardcore fan base. But something they had never tried for their company was television. The year was 2007 and wrestling was trying to make a comeback. Around this time we had TNA growing, we had Ring of Honor, we had MTV running Wrestling Society X, and of course, who could forget the legendary Hulk Hogan Celebrity Wrestling. JCW already had a hardcore following, and they had proved they could get people through the doors, and they had connections in the industry too, so why not do it? The show would benefit from the touring schedule. It was almost a different city every show, which would keep the crowds buzzing and the show not being boring. And similar to ECW, the crowds here would prove to be a major part of the shows. The shows would be an hour long, and unfortunately, it went straight to DVD. I'm guessing by the commentary that they'd never had a chance of being on TV. So it begs the question, why is it called Slam TV? Beats me. But yeah, the hardest thing about sitting through these shows is the language that's used. It's really strange hearing people cuss each other out like this in 2023. Violent J has asked us to please forgive him and overlook this as it was different times and it was dumb. Unfortunately for him, the Hawk doesn't play favourites and he can go cry into a brick. Nah, I'll quote a few things throughout the video, you can decide. But what's viewed as acceptable has changed so much in the last couple of decades for the better. Things started off badly for Slam TV as their main attraction, Vampiro, was unable to perform. It seemed that he had an exclusive deal with Wrestling Society X. I can't believe companies like that were enforcing rules like that. After a cheap intro package about what JCW has to offer, which seems to be not a lot apart from screaming, we meet our comedy team, Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope, but they won't be using those names for some reason. Instead, J will be 3D and Dope will be Guido. They swear more times than your drunk uncle and hype up some matches for tonight. All I got out of it is that Zach Gowan's nickname in the company will be Dickhead. We cut to a dark and gloomy staircase where Trent Acid has been watching way too many Undertaker segments from the Ministry days. This is Holy Trent Acid, who apparently weighs in at 45 stones, which is very heavy. It seems the comedy team is self-aware and they say they've cut this entrance down because nobody wants to sit through this boring rubbish. He faces Nasawa, a former world champion of this organisation. But first, the Trent Acid promo. The comedy team keeps saying that this man Trent Acid loves little children. The ultimate heel, it seems. The Juggalos don't want to hear the promo. People start pelting him with rubbish. Acid makes fun of the crowd for liking the ICP. This is hilarious, he can't even talk because he keeps getting things launched at him. We're almost 10 minutes into the show and nothing's happened but things being thrown into the ring. At this point I started wondering what sort of in-ring product JCW would even be putting out. Is it Lucha Libre? Is it hardcore? Is it old school? Well, I still don't know because Trent Acid is still talking and getting floored by trash. He threatens to walk out of the building but doesn't. And finally, Trent Acid floors Nasawa from behind. The pace quickens and it finally resembles an actual match. Nasawa hits a low drop kick and a buzzsaw kick. Acid just can't land a move as he gets a super kick for a 2. Trent Acid cuts him off in the corner and hits a splash and his own kick. The commentary don't like Trent Acid because they don't like how he humps men. What kind of version of The Undertaker is this? It seems to be a version if Russo had his own way. Acid with a front slam now, but he misses his moonsault. Nasawa connects with a Shining Wizard but doesn't make the cover. Instead they will fight on the outside of the ring. Nasawa launches a chair into his face, so I guess there's no rules in this company. They come back to the ring with Acid hitting a diving DDT for a 2. Trent Acid struggles to bring some chairs into the ring. He tries to build a chair bridge and hit a dive, which is stopped by Nasawa. Nasawa superplexes him through the chairs. How is that just a 2? Acid wants to hit him with a Bible, but can't do it. The ref is shoved out the way so Acid can use the Bible. He drills Nasawa in the head for the 3. Why did the referee need to be distracted? They literally used chairs just a minute before. The winner is announced as Holy Trent Asshole. Well, that's just brilliant. So the type of wrestling seems to be constant action similar to Lucha Underground or XPW. Not bad, just a bit silly. In the back, a hooker called Jade is with Zach Gowan. She accuses him of taking drugs in the lavatory. Why does she keep calling him Zeke? Gowan says he hates clowns and he hates hip-hop. He's only here for the money and the rats, because money talks and bullshit walks. This seems to be touching on Gowan's big ego from his time in the WWE. Is there a reason the microphone looks like a dick? We're informed that Necro Butcher and Madman Pondo will be fighting on the next show, and it seems that these two little friends don't like each other very much. In an Ibis budget shower, it's Tracy Smothers. He'll be playing the role of a miserable veteran. He says he doesn't respect JCW and he only respects his Pro Wrestling Unplugged title, which he regularly showers with. I really love how the ring announcers are the same clowns as the comedy team, which doesn't make any sense. Are the clowns masters of teleportation? Out stamps Zach Gowan. They do a bunch of really dodgy cuts during this entrance and they decide to cut to Gowan falling over. His opponent is Too Tough Tony, who is basically like the JCW mascot. Tony is also wider than he is tall. Man, being a heel isn't easy in this promotion. You really have to put up with some stuff from the fans here. This is probably how it used to be back in the day. Zach removes his prosthetic leg. He's feeling cocky. The crowd don't respond well to Gowan's whoop whoop. The match begins with a slap. Tony's all over him like a bad pair of shorts. Gowan kicks him in the corner and hits a falling kick from the ropes. The one-legged wonder keeps going with a Vader bomb. Tony is really struggling as he's drop-kicked away. Gowan starts doing the worm for some reason. Now Gowan hits a stomp, which they call the pogo stick. Lots of dick jokes in this match. The crowd chant, "You're a something something AJ Styles from 2003, something something from TNA." Tony finally hits a move with a back suplex. He kills Gowan with a clothesline, and then the production decide to suddenly out of the blue show rapid fire replays. That was random, but it reminded me of a video game. Gowan is draped over the ropes, Tony hits him with a flipping leg drop for a 2. Gowan blocks a top rope suplex, but his moonsault is countered with knees to the back. Too Tough hits his finisher, the Tony Driver, but the dumbass doesn't make a cover. Instead, he lights his own hand on fire and tells Gowan, "Shut up or I'll smack you one. It's over." Well, that was random, but actually kind of unique and cool. Tony tries to cut a post-match promo, but I can't hear him. The clowns are very happy with their first showing. They end the show by saying, "We're tapping out in unison." Cute. Not bad for a first show. My only criticism is that it's not clear who the top wrestlers are. Who is the slapnuts of this organisation? What are the prizes? Who even is the champion? Is there a champion? I don't think that any of this was mentioned. The comedy team was 90% dick jokes, but you have to wonder if these guys are in the closet. But it was their first TV episode. Maybe they were nervous. It wasn't boring at least, so let's get into the next show. Show 2 starts with the ICP stood in front of a cheap-looking green screen because we're in Grand Rapids, Michigan. These guys are so full of energy. Imagine if they had a swearing ban. I think their heads would explode. If they introduced a swear jar, this company would be bankrupt in one show. The first match will be a tag team match. Jimmy Jacobs. Didn't realise he was a thing on this show, and he teams up with Josh Abercrombie. Never heard of him. He sure ain't from Western Zoyland. The comedy team talk about how neither guy can possibly be straight. This is like the opposite of my last video. Wait, why does the referee put his hands down their knickers? This is now officially more homoerotic than my last video. The crowd throws stuff at them. The opponent's a known hardcore wrestler, Necro Butcher, who looks like a spice head, and he teams up with Madman Pondo. For some reason they enter to The Beautiful People by Marilyn Manson. Perhaps it's ironic. I don't think it's gonna go well for these jobbers. Yay, more homoerotic spots. The comedy team go nuts and talk about acts which would get this video demonetized. They've gone completely mad. I've never heard anything like this. You're allowed to kick balls, you're allowed to stab balls, but you're not allowed to... Well, I'll leave the end of the sentence up to your imagination. I was distracted, but we've got a frantic match going on. Abercrombie is slammed on the chair and then Jacobs is given a nipple toss. Pondo boots Jacobs in the nutsack and hits the Russian. A chair is in the ring now. Jacobs takes a seat and Pondo flies at him with a leg drop as weird unfitting replays and video effects are on the show. Oh god, Abercrombie botches a springboard. He quickly moves on with a flip senton out the ring. Necro dumps a jobber into the crowd. The Juggalos hold out a chair and Jacobs is sent into it. Necro and Abercrombie return after a few minutes. No idea what happened to them. This commentary is honestly so bad. What were they thinking? This could never have aired on telly. A casual discussion about why prison lovemaking is a necessity. At this point, the Hawk's gonna have to start writing erotic love novels. No clip queued up. I don't think that gimmick ever got over for the Hawk anyway. Abercrombie spin kicks a chair into Pondo's face. The jobbers continue with a double back body drop onto the ramp, which is the smallest ramp I've ever seen. Abercrombie breaks up a pedigree of a missile dropkick and he throws his partner into Butcher. They call it the flying something. Pondo uses a stop sign and hits a catatonic. The crowd are really into this one. Jacobs is power slammed through a table from the middle rope and it's over. These ICP guys, man, I cannot understate how messed up they sound on commentary. Never heard anything like that in wrestling history and I've watched a lot of stuff. We now get a recap, which presumably happened on a JCW house show. Tracy Smothers basically beat up Zach Gowen, which is weird because based on their promos on the last show, they both have the same motivations. They both hate JCW and they're both just here for a payday. Oh yeah, and they're both heels. Smothers beat up a referee until someone from the crowd launched a pair of Fat Man trousers at him. A bigger highlight is a pitcher smashed into Smothers' meathead. Now Shaggy will interview Trent Acid and Nasawa. The Japanese legend is upset about being hit with a Bible last week and thought that it was cheating, even though they used a chair the whole match. Acid agrees to a rematch next week. Then it gets strange. Acid must have taken a lot of acid because smoke appears and it vaporizes him. Something else is going down in the back. Tracy Smothers is trying to kill jobbers. The commentary team ask who the hell the jobber was. So here comes Holy Trent Acid again. Once again it's made fun of how long his entrance is. We're told that we have time to go and take a dump. Violent J flips him off. Are these clowns going to wrestle or what? His opponent is Too Tough Tony. I think there's only 5 wrestlers in this company. Tony is like a young Sandman, but not as cool. His entrance is longer than Trent Acid's entrance, but no mention is made of that. So little has happened so far that we get a replay from a shove. That's a first for me. After 10 minutes of nothing happening, I'd completely zoned out of the match. When they aren't doing hardcore stuff, it just feels boring. It's gotten so bad that the commentary are making fun of Juggalo's haircuts. Trent Acid ends up in the crowd, and the commentary team tried to tell us how dangerous it is for him out there to be surrounded by the Juggalos who hate him, but nothing happens to him. Trent Acid disappears, so this is definitely like The Undertaker with superpowers from the Attitude Era. He reappears and hits Tony with a chair. They have a turnbuckle camera, which seems like a good idea in principle, but then they hardly ever use it. Trent Acid nails a twisting splash for a 2. Tony hits a pretty nice suplex into the chair. I really thought they were about to overshoot that. Too Tough Tony zones out for a bit whilst holding onto a chair and he pays for his gorming when the chair is kicked into his face. They're talking about Howard powers. Tony throws a chair in Acid's face and connects with a flipping leg drop for a 2. Nice Frankenstein on the chair now, and Tony hits the Tony Driver, his finisher. I have to comment that these guys are definitely competent wrestlers. Everything looks surprisingly good, despite them essentially being cast off as hardcore wrestlers. Tony does not make a pin for that one because he wants a drink instead. It turns out that he wants to hit that fireball punch again. He can't manage it though and Acid bails. Trent Acid cuts a promo calling the match Devil Worship. What a hypocrite. Acid leaves, so I guess Too Tough wins by countout. Well, he's undefeated, so I guess Tony is going to be the megastar of this promotion. Man, is there actually going to be any other wrestlers in this promotion? As the show is about to go off the air, ICP start running down next week's show. We finally learn that there is a world champion, a man called Corporal Robinson. Nice of him to bail on the first 2 shows. Even in JCW they have part-timers. That's show 2 over. Let's give this one final shot. For this show we're in Minneapolis. Man, these guys toured more than most companies nowadays. I'm intrigued to finally meet the champion of this company. Oh great, the show starts with Trent Acid. They brag about how bad the editing of the intro is. Man, this building looks packed. Apparently there's 1,700 in attendance. You just can't criticise these clowns for their drawing powers. He's facing Nasawa, because there's only 5 people on this show. But first, the Trent Acid promo, because that's what we all needed. He tries to back out of this rematch. Shaggy storms to the ring. And meanwhile on the commentary, he says, "What am I doing in the ring?" He accuses Acid of wanting to leave to go to a gay bar. Oh, it's just one long running joke on this show. Within seconds, Shaggy says he's found a replacement wrestler. Perhaps it's the Hulkster. Hang on, when was it established on Slam TV that Shaggy is the manager of this promotion? It's like, yeah, if you watch JCW, you know that these guys run it. But what if you were a new fan here? How would you know? You would be so confused. So he's somehow a commentator, a management figure, and the owner all at the same time? Maybe he cloned himself. The replacement will be CJ O'Doyle. Violent J loudly screams out, "Who?" My thoughts exactly. I knew that name sounded familiar. He was part of the Aces and Eights in TNA. That's insane. But this was crying out to be the debut of a new star for the company, not this guy. Nasawa gets the crowd to chant "You suck" at him. Well, the masked moron hits an overhead belly to belly, so is he supposed to be a joke or not? I can't tell. Now he hits a back suplex. Nasawa starts throwing kicks, the crowd love this guy. Big spinning heel kick from Nasawa. Nasawa now hits a big DDT and a buzzsaw kick, but it's still just a 2. The jobber is launched out of the ring, but it's almost botched due to the masked moron's large feet. The crowd want blood. Mighty Mask starts no-selling all Nasawa's offense. He scoop slams Nasawa and climbs to the top. He attempts a horrible looking moonsault but misses it. The crowd are all over this guy. Nasawa quickly hits a Shining Wizard and the Michinoku driver for the 3. You have to question why this match happened, but the crowd loved it, so I won't cover it in Bird Turd. Now, Tracy Smothers is swearing and screaming because he's been locked up. He tells us 50 times that he's not crazy. He just wants everybody to respect tradition. He's in the middle of this intense promo, but then he loses his trail of thought. There's nothing he hates more than juggalos. He swears when he's released from his cage, he's going to kill somebody. Probably won't be getting released anytime soon with those intentions. My question was, who locked him up? Was it the police? Was it an insane asylum? Or was it just some kinky shit? We get a new segment on the show now where we find out who the top 5 wrestlers are of the company. AEW Eat Your Heart Out. It shouldn't be that difficult because there's only 5 wrestlers on the show. Zach Gowen is number 5, appropriately because he only has 5 toes. Acid is number 4. Number 3 is Tracy Smothers, even though he's done nothing on Slam TV to warrant that. Also appropriately, number 2 is Too Tough Tony. And the number 1 is Corporal Robinson, the man we've never seen. He might as well be the Invisible Man at this point. That was a weird and pointless segment. Finally, we have our JCW World title match. For some reason, Madman Pondo is the challenger, further invalidating the ranking system. Pondo cuts a homophobic promo insulting the crowd. The ICP are just infuriated about this on commentary, even though they've been saying the same stuff but worse the whole show. Pondo gets in Violent J's face, causing him to jerk him to the mat. He doesn't retaliate. What a dork. After 2.5 shows, we finally meet the champion. And he looks exactly the same as everybody else on this show. He hits a super kick to start this match. He has a barbed wire bat and he grinds it into Pondo's miserable face. Now the lightest bat shot to the head. The crowd groan. Corporal hits a neck breaker and whoops at the crowd with happiness. Necro Butcher tries to interfere and he pays for it. Now Necro and Pondo try to use the baseball bat, but there's a botch as Robinson dives at him. The barefooted Spice Head is bulldogged into the barbed wire. For some dumb reason, there's a leg drop to the bat. Mondo starts using the stop sign. I wish this match would stop. They do a bunch of standing switches and then collapse to the floor. The crowd groan again. This is not a good match. Pondo starts threatening the crowd. One kid tries to kick his ass, but he's stopped by security. Pondo returns to the match and scoop slams Robinson on the barbed wire. Pondo starts distracting the referee so that Necro can land a Tiger Driver on the chair. This is basically a handicap match. Robinson is seated in a chair so that Pondo can hit the flying fat guy, but that's just a 2. How is this Corporal still kicking out? And even more so than that, why would you name yourself as a Corporal? Isn't that like the first promotion you get in the army? It means that he's better than nothing. Anyway, Pondo drives him through the table with a pile driver, but Pondo isn't in a rush to end the match. Instead, someone nails him with a piece of trash and the crowd loudly laugh. He finally does make a pin, but it's still just a 2. Pondo kicks him away with anger. Robinson has done nothing here. A huge trash can is thrown into the ring. This match belongs in that can. Pondo uses it as a weapon. Can you imagine how bad it stinks in that building? They fight on the top where Robinson miraculously makes a recovery and powerbombs Pondo into a stop sign. That's just a 2, but he picks him straight back up and hits a chair Russian leg sweep. That's the 3. I hate weapon matches where it's just a bunch of random weapon shots with no thought, creativity or reason. This match was hot garbage. This Lance Corporal Robinson must have been sucking on Shaggy's nutsack to be in this position. Next time, Tracy Smothers will have a match and there'll be a 20-man battle royal. So unless the same wrestlers are going to enter multiple times, we're going to get some new wrestlers on the next show. But until next week, we're tapping. Great. When it's time to watch that, I'll be napping, or better still, crapping. The production values are great. The crowd are great. Not much else to praise yet. Commentary on this show is atrocious. If people are offended by me, you would literally curl up in a ball and cry at this show. The wrestlers all look the same and they fight the same. Let the Hawk know if you want to continue seeing this show. It's not a big commitment, so I can do it. What do you think of Slam TV? Is it something you want to see, or would you rather hang yourself from a tree? Tell me or I'll go on a gut punching spree.